This is a Fox News alert. 2017's devastating hurricane season continues. Unfortunately, another storm called Hurricane Maria barreling toward Puerto Rico at this hour. The storm is already a Category 5. It's still gaining strength. It's expected to approach the island of Puerto Rico by Wednesday morning. It could add to the devastation already caused by Hurricane Irma. Obviously, we'll be tracking it and bringing you the latest. Well, with so many deadly storms in the past 2 months, it's not surprising many have sought to make a political point or draw a connection between them. Many are saying, Facebook is full of this, that the storms are proof of global warming. Never mind their lectures that weather is not climate when it's cold or snowy. John Stossel just wrote a column calling these people alarmists. Doubtless he's being now denounced as a denier. He joins us tonight to explain. So, John, you're seeing this everywhere, everywhere. We have bad hurricanes, unprecedented hurricane season because of climate change. Is that true?
No, even the government, NOAA, says we don't have information to prove that. It's premature to conclude that they've had a detectable effect. And yet the media is just filled with this. And they don't just say, this proves climate change is real. I mean, of course climate change is real. Climate changes. They say man-made climate change is real. And we don't know how much man did, but they just say it.
But doesn't that, I mean, wait a second. If you ask questions, critical questions, and ask for data in order to come to conclusions, that makes you, I think, a denier, right?
Well, I think because I work at Fox, everything makes me a denier. And I am a denier of part of it. But climate change is really four things. Is the climate changing? Yes.
Yes.
Does man play a part? I would say probably, maybe a small part. Is it going to be a crisis? It might be. It's possible. But the most important one, four, is anything we do now going to make any significant difference? And no, I am a denier because we're just wasting money and hurting poor people doing the stuff we did under President Obama and before him.
But, I mean, the argument is that to act is a moral imperative and that it's immoral not to act. You don't buy that?
It's immoral to act if it isn't going to make much difference, if it makes it harder for poor people to live. If it raises the price of energy, that really hurts people. It might be a moral imperative to act on malaria or dysentery, real problems we have now, but we don't know about climate change. And buying all the Priuses, if everybody followed the Paris Agreement, which they wouldn't have, even the proponents admit it would only make the slightest difference.
Why is it that a debate about science has so many moral overtones?
It's the new religion of the left. Man pollutes, man's carbon, greedy industries. This has to hurt people. We have to fight this. This is their religion.
Can you think of any other species of science where asking questions is considered wrong?
No. Asking questions is good. There are no dumb questions.
Right. And isn't skepticism the essence of the scientific method?
Yes, though they say, well, it's beyond that now. Everybody agrees. But they don't agree that it's a crisis or that we can do anything about it. As a consumer reporter, I have covered so many of these scares. Pesticides are causing the cancer epidemic. Y2K is going to make all the planes crash endlessly. They don't happen.
So can you think, I mean, medicine obviously is another branch of science. What would happen if you applied these same rules to medical research? That we know what we know, and anyone who asks questions or evidences skepticism is immoral and ought to be punished. What kind of medicines do you think we'd develop?
Progress would stop. But remember, the researchers have an incentive to say, this is a crisis, and if we do this, it'll make it better, because then they get money. If they say, we don't know, or it might not make a difference, they don't get money.
Or this is incredibly complicated, and we see part of the picture but not the whole picture because that's the way life is. Bottom line, you are saying there is no consensus that climate change is responsible for more powerful hurricanes.
That's what I'm not the scientist who can make that decision, but NOAA says it.
Right. Interesting. John Stossel, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Tucker.
Good luck with the aftermath, the blowback.
If you just watched the video that I watched, you know it's a whole load of baloney. Let's get into the details. Number one, there is proof that climate change is real, and most scientists do agree on it. Now, I know that you have a lot of skepticism, but I call it cynicism. So, within your lot of cynicism, John Stossel and Tucker Carlson will get right into the details. Number one, is climate change changing? Yes, climate is changing over a long period of time. We're not talking about short periods of time. He asked the question, if you ask questions, are you a denier? No, you can ask a whole bunch of questions. You don't have to be a denier, but when you frame it in a way to prove that the other person is wrong or crazy, you become a denier and an a-hole. Okay, is man playing a part? We know for a fact that man is playing a part into global climate change. We can see it through our North Atlantic garbage patches. We could tell by our ozone layer depletion. We can also tell by rising temperatures since we've had them recorded. There's a lot of things that man does, and if you like to use common sense, which isn't readily available, you can see that we have a lot of cars, we have a lot of people, and we do a lot of trashing and junk, and these things do accumulate, and it does hurt us. Is it a crisis? Yes, it is a crisis. According to some of the things that I've looked up, we have modeling climate change and malaria transmission, which is actually impacted by climate change because if you learn epidemiology, I hope you take it, we have the host, the environment, and the agent. We understand that these things work together for disease transmission. And when that happens, in the case for malaria, mosquitoes, who are the vectors, will transmit malaria in more places because it's hot. And so as the temperature rises, we have an increase of malaria, especially as it's prolonged. Number two, the effects of ozone layer. Yes, if the ozone layer is depleted, then unfortunately, it would change the behavior. According to this one article by the JRSM, the Journal of Royal Society of Medicine, because there's going to be an increase of climate change, and it's been affecting our environment. Humans have developed behavioral change, and that behavioral change is going out more, being exposed to the UV radiations, thus increasing rates of skin cancer. And this does not affect black people as much because black people rarely get skin cancer. So that's very important to say. Another thing is, how does this affect people about bad air quality? Because climate change has to do with bad air quality. I have asthma, and my asthma is pretty bad. And I have another journal that talks about how there's starting to be a mixture of COPD and asthma, and it's called ACOS, and it is developing in places that has high environmental risk factors that affects the lung function. Also, for the last one, because it has to be a short minute, I know I'm over 3 minutes. In the video, they did talk about how the NOAA did talk about global warming and hurricanes, and they said it is premature to conclude that human activities, and particularly greenhouse gases emissions that cause global warming, have already had the detectable impact on Atlantic hurricane or global tropical cyclone activity. That said, human activities may have already caused changes that are not yet detectable due to small amounts of magnitude of the changes or observational limitations that are not yet confidently modeled. So, taking this into consideration, we think about how, oh no, there's change. They try to use this for their push of denying, but it turns out that NOAA is saying there may be changes. There are definitely changes. We just aren't able to see it, and not yet. Of course, we may not have the technology, or they're just not really detectable for us to really see if it makes a change, because it's been changing rapidly because of our levels over the years. And also, they talked about how it's going to get worse and how hurricanes will become worse. So it's funny that he uses NOAA to the viewers that watch these things and say, okay, I agree. If they do more detail, they see that it's a lot of lies and a lot of things that are not being said. And there's a lot of things that we can do about it now. One thing I did made a video. Also, talk to people, recycle, care, do more research. There's a lot of things that we could do. I chose this medium because there's a lot of deniers, and I'm tired of trying to convince people. I think that people should get exposed to both sides of the arguments, especially cynicism, because you have people here who are cynical. They really aren't looking for ways to change, and in fact, they're getting paid to keep on denying. Thank you.